Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders find themselves in a bit of limbo heading into Week 4, and the uncertainty centers around none other than their star wide receiver Terry McLaurin. Now, if you've been following the Commanders closely, you know McLaurin has been the heart and soul of that receiving corps since he entered the league back in 2019. He's that reliable guy, the one who always shows up, puts his head down, and delivers no matter the quarterback situation, no matter the circumstances. But right now, Commanders fans are holding their breath because McLaurin's health is suddenly in question, and it could have big implications for Washington's matchup this week against the Atlanta Falcons. So here's what went down. Last Sunday, in the Commanders' 41-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders, McLaurin was right in the middle of one of the biggest plays of the game. Third quarter, he gets loose downfield, tracks the ball, and comes up with a monster 56-yard grab that looked like it was going to end in 6 points. He made that classic McLaurin effort play, diving toward the end zone, stretching out with everything he had, and for a moment, the officials even ruled it a touchdown. But then came the replay review, and just like that, the score came off the board. What didn't come off, though, was the pain he felt. That dive tweaked something in his quadriceps, and while he stayed in uniform on the sideline for the rest of the game, he didn't take another snap after that play. Now, that's a pretty big red flag, especially when you consider the toughness this guy has shown over his career. For McLaurin to stop playing, it usually means something's really bothering him. Coach Quinn, when asked about it, didn't give much away. Classic coach move. Keep the details close to the chest. But according to ESPN, McLaurin has already started seeking additional medical opinions, which usually means there's at least some level of concern from the player's side. He wants to know exactly what's going on with that quad before he pushes it any further. And who can blame him? Quadriceps injuries are tricky. They can feel fine one day, then flare up the next, and if you push too soon, you risk making it a long-term issue instead of a short-term setback. For a wide receiver whose game relies on burst, separation, and speed, any lingering quad problem could completely alter the way he plays. Now, let's put this in perspective. Terry McLaurin has been as dependable as they come. He hasn't missed a single start since 2020. 72 straight games. That's not just a number, that's a statement. In a league where injuries pile up fast, McLaurin has been the Iron Man of Washington's offense. Always available, always fighting. That durability is one of the reasons fans trust him so much and why defenses always have to account for him. And when you think about the fact that he just signed a 3-year extension after a pretty prolonged holdout this past offseason, you know he wants to prove that he's worth every bit of that contract. He didn't have much in-game preparation leading into Week 1 because of that holdout. But once the season started, he did what Terry McLaurin always does, made plays, racked up yards, and gave his young quarterback a reliable target. Through 3 games this year, McLaurin has caught 10 passes for 149 yards. Not monster numbers by his standards, but solid production given the circumstances. And that 56-yarder against Vegas was a reminder of just how dangerous he can be in a single snap. He's the kind of player who flips the field instantly, the kind of guy defenses can't afford to lose track of even for a second. But if that quad isn't right, if it limits him in any way, the Commanders' passing attack could look very different against Atlanta. Let's also not forget that the Commanders already have some injury issues on their plate. Quarterback Jayden Daniels, who has been one of the more intriguing young players to watch early in the season, is dealing with a knee problem. Wide receiver Noah Brown is battling a groin injury. Both of them sat out last week. And now with McLaurin uncertain, suddenly Washington's offense, which looked explosive against the Raiders, is facing a whole lot of ifs heading into Week 4. That's not what you want to hear when you're about to face a Falcons team that's been playing with a chip on its shoulder. The Commanders are set to release their first official injury report on Wednesday, and you better believe all eyes will be on Terry McLaurin's name. Will he practice? Will he be limited? Or will he sit out altogether? Those little updates will tell us a lot about how serious this injury might be. And if you know anything about NFL weeks, those practice participation reports can be more revealing than any press conference. Now, here's the fascinating part of this story. Terry McLaurin has built a reputation not just as a playmaker, but as a warrior. This is a guy who fights through pain, who rarely lets anything slow him down. He's the ultimate team-first player. That's why it's so unusual to see him sidelined during a game. The fact that he stayed dressed on the sideline last Sunday tells me he wanted to be out there if his team really needed him. But the Commanders had control of that game, and maybe that factored into the decision. No point in risking further damage when you're up big on the scoreboard. Still, that doesn't make the quad problem any less concerning going forward. Zooming out a bit, McLaurin's career so far has been nothing short of stellar. In just over 4 seasons, he's put up 470 career receptions, 6,528 yards, and 38 touchdowns. Those are numbers that put him among the most productive receivers in the NFL over that span, despite playing with a carousel of quarterbacks in Washington. Think about it. How many different QBs has McLaurin had to catch passes from since 2019? And yet, through all that instability, he's remained the one constant, the rock that offense leans on. That's what makes him so valuable, and that's why this quad injury feels like such a big storyline heading into this week. Fans are understandably nervous. Social media lit up the moment reports came out about him seeking additional medical opinions. Some are worried this could be the start of a lingering problem, while others are clinging to the hope that it's just precautionary and he'll be good to go by Sunday. That's the emotional roller coaster of NFL injuries. You never really know until game day. And with someone as important as McLaurin, the Commanders are going to play it close to the vest. They don't want to give the Falcons any early advantages, and they don't want to tip their hand about how serious things are. Looking ahead, if McLaurin can't suit up in Atlanta, the Commanders are going to have to get creative. Guys like Jahan Dotson would have to step up in a major way. Dotson has shown flashes, no doubt, but he hasn't been asked to carry the load the way McLaurin does. Then you've got depth guys, role players who may suddenly find themselves thrust into bigger roles. That's a tough adjustment to make, especially on the road, and especially against a Falcons defense that's been opportunistic early in the year. But here's the thing about the NFL, it's a next-man-up league. Injuries happen, stars go down, and the great teams find a way to adapt, at least in the short term. The Commanders' coaching staff is going to be tested here, not just in terms of scheming around McLaurin's possible absence, but also in terms of keeping the locker room focused and confident. Because when a guy like Terry isn't out there, it's not just about the numbers. It's about the presence. Defenses respect him. Teammates rally around him. He changes the entire vibe of that offense. You can't just plug someone else in and expect the same effect. So, as we sit here in the lead-up to Week 4, all eyes are on Terry McLaurin's quad. Will he play? Will he sit? Will he try to gut it out the way he's done so many times before? Nobody knows yet, and that's what makes this such a compelling storyline. What we do know is that McLaurin is the kind of player who will do everything in his power to be out there. But the Commanders have to be smart. It's a long season, and they need him healthy for the stretch run, not just Week 4. If that means sitting him for a game to ensure he's ready for the long haul, that might be the best move. It's a tough call, but it's the kind of decision that could define how the Commanders' season unfolds. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around because the NFL world might just be on the brink of one of the most shocking upheavals we've seen in years. And no, I'm not exaggerating. If you've been following the latest in the world of football rumors, this one is huge, explosive, and absolutely chaotic. The whispers started quietly, just small murmurs here and there, but now it feels like the dam has broken. Adam Peters, a name that's been rising quietly in the front office chatter, has reportedly stepped into the spotlight demanding answers, and this isn't just a polite inquiry. Peters is said to have gone straight to the top, looking for clarity, questioning decisions that many thought were untouchable. And from what insiders are saying, this is more than a casual request. This is a full-blown confrontation. The tension is real, people. You know how it goes in the league. Everyone tries to keep things calm, maintain the image of a well-oiled machine, but when those behind the scenes start asking hard questions, you know something big is coming. Peters, from what sources suggest, isn't just curious. He's frustrated, and he's not the type to sit back quietly. The rumors indicate he wants transparency, he wants accountability, and he wants to know why certain decisions that have left the team floundering were made in the first place. And this is where the story takes a turn that nobody expected. Enter Josh Harris, the owner whose name has been synonymous with big moves, decisive calls, and sometimes ruthless action. People are saying Harris didn't just respond to Peters. He cut through the noise in a way that stunned everyone. Here's the part that's really setting social media and sports talk on fire. The whispers suggest Harris's response wasn't your typical corporate speak or PR safe statement. No, sources are saying he was blunt, cutting through the formalities and giving an answer that left everyone in the room silent. The word that's being passed around is that Harris basically said, "There is no explanation." Think about that for a second. In a world where every decision is usually dressed up, justified, and spun into some sort of narrative for fans and media alike, a straight-up, unvarnished, "there is no explanation" is almost unheard of. People close to the situation are describing the atmosphere as electric, tense, and almost palpable, like the calm before a storm that everyone feels but can't quite see coming. And then comes the kicker, the part that nobody saw coming, and that has the NFL community buzzing at full volume. Dan Quinn is reportedly out. That's right, the head coach, a figure who's been central to the team's identity and strategies, is now said to be on the way out, with sources insisting that this isn't a negotiation, a discussion, or a temporary leave. This is final. The language being used behind the scenes, according to multiple insiders, is very clear. Dan Quinn is done. Out. Finished. It's the kind of development that sends ripples not just through the team, but through the league itself. Coaches talk, players talk, analysts talk, and now the rumor mill is going absolutely wild because if this turns out to be true, it's going to shake up not only the franchise, but also the narratives around coaching stability, management authority, and just how much sway an owner can exert over a football operation. The timing of all this is also fascinating. We're hearing that this isn't a snap decision made on a whim. There have been warning signs, quiet disagreements, and tensions simmering for months, perhaps even years. But somehow, the story went under the radar until Peters, whose reputation in the industry has been quietly growing, decided to press the issue. And Peters reportedly isn't the kind of executive to accept vague answers or corporate doublespeak. This is a man who wants action, who wants clarity, and apparently, in this instance, he found none, which is precisely what seems to have prompted Harris to make a move that insiders describe as decisive and shocking. The word in the corridors of sports media is that this could redefine how front office disputes and coaching decisions intersect moving forward. Now, consider the implications. If Dan Quinn is truly out, that opens a whirlwind of questions about the future of the team. Who steps in? Are we looking at an interim coach? A full-time replacement? And more importantly, what does this say about the culture and strategy at the top level? Harris's response, the cutthroat, no explanation line, sends a message to anyone inside that organization. Loyalty, patience, and tenure can only go so far. Results matter, and when questions are asked, answers must be tangible or leadership will act. For fans, this is both exhilarating and nerve-wracking because it suggests a franchise willing to shake things up in ways that most organizations would never dare. The ripple effects could touch everything from player morale to draft strategy to free agency moves. Adding another layer to this, insiders are hinting at the behind-the-scenes negotiations that might have contributed to this explosion. Apparently, there have been ongoing disagreements between coaching staff and the front office over playstyle, personnel decisions, and team philosophy. Those discussions, often quiet and confidential, seem to have reached a breaking point. Peters pushing for transparency was the spark, and Harris's response was the torch that ignited what is now being described as an organizational earthquake. Social media chatter, while often exaggerated, is buzzing with speculation, names of potential replacements, theories about why Harris chose such a blunt approach, and even wild conjectures about how players are reacting behind closed doors. Every corner of the NFL community is paying attention because moves like this rarely happen in a vacuum. Even more intriguing are the subtle hints being dropped by anonymous sources that there could be additional shifts coming. While nothing is confirmed, the atmosphere is being described as tense, expectant, and unstable by those close to the situation. If true, we might be witnessing the beginning of a broader shakeup that could affect more than just the coaching staff. The franchise might be preparing for a period of reinvention, or perhaps Harris is making a statement that authority and decisiveness at the top will no longer be questioned. For fans and analysts alike, The next few weeks are going to be absolutely fascinating because we are standing on the edge of uncertainty that promises drama, strategy, and some high-stakes moves that could define a season. And let's not forget the human element in all of this. Dan Quinn, whose coaching style and leadership have long been respected, is reportedly taking this with as much professionalism as possible, but insiders hint at a level of shock and disappointment behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Adam Peters' reputation as a rising figure in the front office sphere seems to be solidifying, with sources saying his insistence on clarity may have triggered changes that few others could have. Josh Harris, of course, is being seen as the ultimate decision-maker, willing to act in a way that few owners dare, sending a message not just within the organization but across the league. Accountability is non-negotiable. So, what does this all mean for the team, for the league, and for fans watching at home? Well, if the rumors hold any weight, it could signal a major shift in power dynamics, a recalibration of coaching hierarchies, and perhaps even a new era of transparency, or at least a new era of decisiveness from the top. The story is still unfolding, the details are murky, and the next chapter could bring even more shockwaves. But one thing is clear. In the world of professional football, sometimes the quietest whispers turn into the loudest storms, and right now, the NFL storm is rising with a vengeance. Keep your eyes on this situation, because if the insiders are right, this is one saga that will be remembered for years to come. A perfect example of how power, pressure, and personalities collide in ways that leave fans, analysts, and players alike utterly captivated. The only certainty at this point is that things will never look the same again, and the drama is far from over. In fact, it might just be starting. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.